All right, let's jump straight into this explainer and crack open the $1,000 gaming mystery that completely took over Reddit on July 2nd, 2026. If you've been following the launch of Valve's highly anticipated Steam machine, you have absolutely felt the tremors of this massive hardware panic. We're talking about a brand new premium device just dead in its tracks. So today, we're going to break down exactly what happened, why it happened, and figure out if you actually need to cancel your pre-order. Just listen to this Reddit comment. This single thought perfectly captures the visceral, genuine fear gripping the gaming community right now. It really sets the high stakes for our investigation. For gamers of a certain age, the trauma of expensive hardware suddenly turning into a glowing red brick is a very real, very painful memory. So when images of a glowing red line on Valve's new console hit the internet, that hardware PTSD flared up instantly. But to separate the viral panic from the actual technical reality, we really need to look at the facts. Section 1, the 20-minute death and the timeline to failure. To understand this panic, let's look at the exact incident reported by the user who started it all. The timeline here is fascinating and honestly a little terrifying. The user boots up the console at 10:15 a.m. Flawless. At 10:20, they are successfully running No Man's Sky on high settings. Looking great. But then at 10:25 a.m., a system update notification pops up. The user closes the game, installs the update, the system reboots, and at 10:41 a.m., it never comes back. This incredibly fast timeline of failure is our first major clue, especially that crucial detail that total death occurred literally right after a system update. So what exactly did that death look like? Well, according to Valve's official diagnostic documentation, a breathing red line on the right half of the LED bar is not just some general error. This specific LED pattern confirms the system believes its GPU has completely failed. There is absolutely no video output to the TD, and the console is totally unresponsive to any inputs. It is, for all intents and purposes, a brick. Section 2, Hardware versus Firmware, the core mystery. This brings us to the central tension of our investigation. Is this a catastrophic physical hardware break, or did a software update just totally brick the device? To understand why a dead GPU is such a massive nightmare here, we have to look at how the Steam machine is actually built. The GPU is permanently soldered to the motherboard using a ball grid array. That means you can't just pop open the case and swap it out like a desktop PC graphics card. Repairing this requires a highly complex professional process called BGA reballing. You literally have to melt the chip off the board, clean it, and precision solder it back on. And let me tell you, that incredibly specialized repair process does not come cheap, because professional reballing costs anywhere from $500 to $800, which is nearly the price of the console itself, and carries a super high risk of failure. A dead GPU means your device is effectively a $1,000 paperweight. Most local repair shops won't even touch it.
So the crucial point we have to figure out is which of these two scenarios is actually killing the console. If the physical solder actually broke, the hardware is dead. Done. But if that 10:25 a.m. system update just corrupted the initialization sequence, the hardware might actually be perfectly fine, but the firmware is just completely confused.
When we put the evidence side by side, a really fascinating picture emerges. On the hardware side, the official LED code explicitly says GPU death. And look, early manufacturing defects in BGA soldering definitely do happen. But on the firmware side, well, experts like Louis Rossmann point out that physical thermal death simply does not happen in 20 minutes. A massive heat failure takes hours, or days, or months. The fact that there was zero overheating reported, and it failed the exact second an update was applied, strongly suggests the system update just corrupted the GPU initialization, which brilliantly illustrates the current nightmare for users. It's the classic chicken and egg recovery problem. Let's say it is just a firmware glitch. You theoretically could fix corrupted firmware in recovery mode by pressing a button combination. But to see the recovery menu on your TV, to fix the GPU, you need a working GPU to display the image. Without a blind recovery method using audio cues, users are painfully, almost comically, locked out of saving their own consoles. Section 3, the Xbox 360 precedent, a ghost from the past. To fully grasp why the internet amplified this one single failure so aggressively, we have to look at the ghost currently haunting the hardware industry. $3.8 billion. Take a second to process that staggering number. That is what Microsoft paid out to extend warranties and replace consoles when the Xbox 360's infamous red ring of death decimated up to 54% of all their units between 2005 and 2009. The gaming community remembers this clearly. When gamers see a red light on a new console, absolute panic is the default, heavily conditioned response. But the narrative shifts completely when we actually compare the data. The Xbox 360 failed over months, typically 6 to 18 months, due to repeated thermal cycling that literally cracked the solder over time. The Steam Machine failed in mere minutes. This entirely proves these are fundamentally different technical phenomena. We are absolutely not looking at a massive, long-term overheating design flaw here. Moving on to Section 4, Valve's strategy and their response. In the tech world, how a manufacturer responds is often way more important than the hardware failure itself, and Valve is taking a very specific approach here. According to the original user whose console died, Valve's support was lightning fast. Unlike Microsoft, who denied their Xbox problem for nearly 2 years, Valve is instantly admitting to a known issue in a specific batch. They are offering no questions asked replacements with free two-way shipping. They're aggressively trying to kill this PR disaster in the crib before it even grows. And honestly, when we look at the actual scale of the problem, it's incredibly reassuring. The Steam Machine subreddit has over 120,000 members, yet there are only about 4 confirmed red line of death cases. Many users are logging well over 150 hours flawlessly on high-end games like Cyberpunk 2077. Plus, independent teardowns verify the console's vapor chamber cooling is totally robust. The viral social media panic is heavily outpacing the technical reality right now. Section 5. The final verdict. Is it a crisis? Based on the teardowns, the expert analysis, and the historical context, it's time to deliver the verdict on the red line of death. So the crucial takeaway is this. The evidence strongly points to a marginal soldering flaw in a specific early production run. But here's the catch. The hardware doesn't fail on its own. It only fails when the system pushes a firmware update that likely changes power management or thermal loads during the installation, causing those weak early batch solder joints to finally fail. It's a hardware defect exposed by a software trigger. If you're planning to buy a Steam Machine, don't let social media fear stop you. But you definitely need to protect yourself by following this exact 3-step action plan. Step 1. Buy from retailers with ironclad return policies, like Amazon or Best Buy. Step 2. Don't baby the device. Stress test it immediately with your most demanding games within your return window. Step 3. Never update on battery power. Always ensure you're plugged into AC power to guarantee stable voltage during firmware flashes. Valve has successfully navigated the opening hours of this crisis by being fast and generous with replacements. But the true test of Valve's hardware legacy isn't whether a handful of early units fail. The question we have to ask is, if failures multiply as more units ship, will Valve remain proactively transparent, or will the Steam Machine become gaming's next $3.8 billion cautionary tale? Keep an eye on those batch numbers, stress test your gear, and stay curious.